Hey, how's it going? Saturday marks the release of a brand new series where we compare two characters from different Fire Emblem games to see who would win in a fight. Welcome to The Arena. If you want to know the math behind this series, stick around, but if you take nothing more from this video, please subscribe so you do not miss out on the first episode of The Arena. The point of this video is to give you a bit of a primer. There are a lot of numbers and math involved to come to a conclusion to who is the objectively better fighter between two Fire Emblem characters from two different games. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty of it all. First, some quick Fire Emblem terminology that will be used throughout. Base stats, or bases, are the starting stats of a character, and growth rates are a percentage chance of a particular stat going up at a level up. For example, Alm starts with a base strength of 10 and his strength growth is 50%. Therefore, Alm begins the game with 10 points of strength, and every level up there is a 50% chance of his strength increasing by 1. Now, let's move on to the process of how we can really compare different Fire Emblem characters from different games. The first step is to determine what the average base stats as well as the average stat growths are for the entire series. This allows us to compare and contrast any of the near 1,000 characters in the series. Here are the results. It is worth mentioning that I had some decisions to make in regard to what should and should not be included in these numbers. First off, in many of the games, magic and strength are not separate stats. So the Game Boy Advance games, the NES games, Fire Emblem 3, and Fire Emblem Echoes had their numbers tweaked to fit the mold. This boiled down to separating characters' attack stats to what they use in-game. This only got a little messy in the case of Guided and Echoes, where there are many characters who could use both. For example, villagers who can become both physical and magical classes, dread fighters could become villagers through promotion, and priestesses could use both magic and swords. For those characters, the solution was to include their strength stat as a magic stat as well, as it could affect both. Second, children characters were handled as if they did not have their stats changed by their parents, except in the case of Genealogy of the Holy War, where every parenting option was considered. This was because the formula used to determine the child character's growths, which simply averages the growth of the mother, father, and child in Awakening, and averages the mother's and child's growths and fates. Due to this, the overall averages would not be affected so much that it would change the outcome of future battles if every single option was considered for fates and awakening children. Avatar characters are included without any stat variations, so there were no assets or flaws considered in their bases or growths. The Teleus games assumed that no stats were transferred from Path of Radiance to Radiant Dawn. Any and all stat-changing skills were ignored. This means the +2 skills from the 3DS games were ignored, and skills such as Aptitude and Blossom that changed the character's growth rates were also done away with. Finally, all DLC and Amiibo characters have been excluded from the series averages. With that all out of the way, we can get into how we use the averages to obtain stats for characters that allow us to compare them to any other character in the series. Okay, so before we go any further, I feel the need to cover some basic math things so that no one gets lost here. This is stuff we learned in as early as elementary school, so I don't want to bore you or anything, but just in case you aren't familiar with this stuff. So with those averages and everything, we need a few other numbers as well, but we need to use what's called proportions to figure out the stats that we need to compare two particular characters across two different games, is what I'm saying. So we use this formula right here, x over y equals a over b, in the blue box here. And we have to manipulate that to get a particular number. So in our case, we're going to need a. So if we look here at the pink one down here, we can multiply both sides by b, and because we do the same thing to both sides, the equal sign still makes sense. A is equal to b multiplied by x divided by y, and we use those equations to figure out the stats for each character. So let's go take a look at this example, which is Ike here, where we have x is the number we want. In this case, we need to find out Ike's base strength compared to the entire series, and we have Ike's base strength of 24 listed. We need the average base strength in Radiant Dawn, which is 15.1918, and the average base strength of the entire series, which is 8.96598. With all of these numbers, we can figure out X, or Ike's compared base strength. So all it really takes is multiplying this. We need to, well, 24 divided by 15.1918 multiplied by that, because we just plug those numbers into this equation here, and we get the result of Ike's base strength compared to the entire series, which is 14.1645. So now let me pull up the entire spreadsheet that I'm using for tomorrow or Saturday's arena battle, which is actually going to be between Ike and Roy, as you can see if you're looking. So we have all of these bases, all these numbers and everything, blah, 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 so much stuff, promotion gains, so much stuff. And what it all comes down to is we get all these numbers, these finals. So if we look here, we can see the equation is, I can double click it, so you can see everything that goes into it. We see that it is the growths divided by 100 times 28, because that's how many levels Ike needs to cap out, plus his base HP, plus his promotion gain, which we see over here. And we do that with every single stat across both Ike and Roy. As you can see, Ike has 0 magic because, no magic and all that good stuff. And then we take into consideration their weaponry, any stat boost it may give. Because Ike and Roy's weapon, which is the Binding Blade, I don't have it written down, are both give the bonus of 5 defense. Those will be tallied into their final stats. And we come up with these final battle stats, which are pretty interesting if you ask me, with good attack stats for both and everything. But then we just plug all of these numbers into a battle formula, which I derived from the Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. I felt that was a solid and fair battle system across the series. So, by the power of proportions, we can really figure out who is the strongest Fire Emblem character of all time. It's going to take some time to sort through and see who it really is. But the goal at this point is just to have some fun, see who would win in different matchups, and I'm really excited for this. So, thank you for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Make sure to tune in tomorrow for the very first episode of the arena, featuring Ike and Roy. I'm really excited. I really like the results of it. I think it's exciting. I think you'll appreciate it.